Hi, it's Brian. Welcome to the awards contender. I am very excited to welcome Cody Dericks from Next Best Picture back today. So for this Oscar predictions video, we are talking the 3 shorts categories and the 3 features categories. Cody, I have not seen a single shorts. I am not doing my job as the awards contender, apparently. Like, it's like where I live and like they're not playing. Like I can't see these movies. So I'm so excited to have you on today to give all of us some guidance. Like, what is going to win at the 97th Academy Awards in those 3 shorts categories? Let's start with Best Animated Short Film, Cody. The nominees are Beautiful Men, In the Shadow of the Cypress, Magic Candies, Wander to Wonder, and Yuck. Is it going to be Yuck? I love that title.
So the impulse usually is to go with the one with the weirdest title.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be the case this year.
Okay.
For me, this is probably the easiest to predict of all the shorts categories. I've seen all 15 nominees across the 3 categories. It's a trying task.
I applaud you.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Even though they're short, sometimes they can be a bit, taxing. But this year, I think Wander to Wonder is definitely the one that's going to win here. It just won the BAFTA for Best British Short Animated Film. It won the Annie Award for Best Short Film. And the Oscars are not something, when it comes to the shorts, that like precursors always factor in. But it's hard to argue with that much of an idea of people who are on the Academy, which is included in Annie and BAFTA voters, picking one movie in 2 different ceremonies and not picking it for Oscar. The only disadvantage is it is a very weird short. I loved it, to be clear.
Why is it weird? What's weird about it?
So, to give a quick summary, it's about a British children's show, kind of like the Teletubbies, that when the film opens, the creatures that are the subject of this television show are revealed to be little tiny humans, like the borrowers, who wear these costumes. And as the film opens, the person who directed them in the TV show is dead. So now they've taken over this apartment, they're stuck there, and they're still kind of doing the show. It's a freaky, bizarre, weird short, but it's funny and a little sad and really well made. It's very well crafted stop motion animation. So it will get my vote. I think it's going to win. I think the only other ones that maybe could put up a fight are In the Shadow of the Cypress, which is an Iranian animated short. It's hand-drawn. It's gorgeous to look at. I thought it was thematically kind of troubling. It opens with a scene of domestic abuse that never really resolves, and it's just kind of... I wasn't really sure what we were doing here. And to your point, the short Yuck is really fun. It's a short little French story. It's very sweet about children learning about how gross they think kissing is, and then slowly learning that it's like something to enjoy. It's very charming, very sweet. I don't think the animation is anything exceptional, and that's something that I usually factor into my predictions here. But I think Wander to Wonder is going to be the one to pick here.
Okay. Yeah, I think if we weren't totally sure, I feel like that BAFTA win helps, right? I mean, not to say that everything that wins a BAFTA wins at the Oscars, but
right.
If there are a couple in animated short that we think could maybe win, the fact that you loved Wander to Wonder the most, and it won at BAFTA, like that seems pretty likely.
And the Annies. Yeah that's
and the Annies. So that's cool.
It's just, most people skip these categories on their Oscar ballots. So you have to imagine that the people, hopefully, most of the people who are voting for them have seen all of them. But even if they've only seen one, it's likely Wander to Wonder because it's been contending at all these other awards that the others have not been. Which helps it out. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. You've definitely made my mind pretty set on this one. So although, I mean, I still think if there's enough voters in the Academy who don't see them all, they might just go with Yuck because that's a really funny title.
And it would be a good winner. I liked Yuck. It was very sweet.
But so our final prediction to win the Oscar for animated short film is Wander to Wonder. All right, Best Documentary Short Film is next. The nominees are Death by Numbers, I Am Ready, Warden, Incident, Instruments of a Beating Heart, and The Only Girl in the Orchestra. The Only Girl in the Orchestra, Cody. That was the one that was streaming on Netflix, and I was going to watch it, but I forgot.
Yes. It's streaming on Netflix, which makes me think this is your winner.
Okay.
I think it's probably going to win here. It is arguably the easiest to watch. It's a very charming story about the first female musician ever at the New York Philharmonic who's been there for 50 years as she's retiring. It's told by her niece, so it's a very loving portrait. It's easy to watch. It's uplifting. There's no strife or drama or conflict, really. It's just kind of a nice, charming watch, and it's on Netflix. Netflix is pretty well in this category. I believe they've won before a few times, so I would personally go with that if I were predicting, which I am, so I'm going to predict that.
Has it won anything?
I don't think it's won anything, but that's okay. You know, it reminds me of something like The Last Repair Shop last year, which was a really also inspiring movie about orchestras. Or, you know, Netflix won this in 2022 with The Elephant Whisperers, and it's just this category rewards uplifting kind of stories usually, things that have a beginning, middle, and end in a place of either hope or resolution, which is not the case for all of these nominees. In fact, 3 of them are about really tough subjects. You know, Death by Numbers is about the Parkland school shooting. I'm Ready, Warden is about a death row inmate, and Incident is about a case of police murder in Chicago in 2018. Incident is incredible. It's unbelievable. And if I had a ballot, it would get my vote in a heartbeat. It's one of the best films I saw in the past year, period. It was unbelievable. Incredibly made, really well edited and mixed, but it is not very typical in its structure. And that's what makes it so great, but I think is unfortunately what's going to keep it from winning. It's probably the least likely to win, which is a shame because it would easily get my vote of these 5. But I think Only Girl in the Orchestra is going to be the one to win.
So you think Incident is the best one, but it has no shot in winning. That's interesting.
Correct. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think it's easily the best, but the things that are so good about it are exactly the types of things that the Academy, the broader voting base of the Academy is not going to engage with, knowing based on how they've voted in the past.
So in some ways, like, the winner every year at the Oscars for documentary short, it's the one that, like, goes down easiest. It's the one that's a little bit easier for audiences to watch.
But a lot of times, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So The Only Girl in the Orchestra, what is it, like 30, 35 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, these are all like half an hour, so.
I promise I will watch it. I just forgot. I'm sorry. But yeah, it sounds like it's pretty good, and if it's anything like the one that took the prize last year, I think I would really enjoy it. Okay, so our final prediction to win the Oscar for Best Documentary Short Film is The Only Girl in the Orchestra. Okay, and one more shorts category, live action short film. The nominees are Alien, Antigua, I'm Not a Robot, The Last Ranger, and The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent. Give us some guidance here, Cody. What is winning live action short film?
Okay, this is definitely the hardest of the 3 categories.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. This is the hardest.
You were supposed to tell us what's winning.
I have an idea. I have an idea of what's winning.
Okay.
I've also seen very little consensus from the few predictions I've found out there from other people about this category specifically. The other 2, people have an idea of what's probably going to win or what they imagine is going to win. This one I've seen basically a prediction for almost all 5 of these. To go really quickly through them, Alien is about a family dealing with the ridiculous bureaucracy of an immigration process in America. Antigua is about a young Indian girl who works at a factory who is given the opportunity to attend school for the first time. I'm Not a Robot is a kind of almost light Orwellian story about a woman who fails a CAPTCHA I'm Not a Robot test on her computer. The Last Ranger is about South African game rangers who are protecting rhinos from poaching, and The Man Who Cannot Remain Silent is a true story dramatized about a massacre in Bosnia in the 90s of 18 Muslims and 1 non-Muslim Croatian citizen who tried to put a stop to it. So again, a lot of stuff here that's hard to watch. I would say the closest thing to something that's not harrowing is Antigua, which is definitely going for more kind of a sweet vibe. But it ends on an ambiguous note that I found a little bit. It ended, and it was one of those short films that ends, and I kind of just went like, "Oh, we're over. It's done. Okay, I guess we're done." There was very little like. And the thing about shorts is, like, yes, they're short, but the best ones still follow a typical 3-act structure, or at least conflict resolution, things that are the basis of storytelling. And Antigua, to my opinion, really does not. If I had to pick a winner here that I think is most likely to win, I would probably go with Alien, or Alien. It's based and it's going for something different with the title. It is unfortunately very topical given the current state of immigration in this country. I found it very harrowing, very upsetting. It's probably my favorite of the five nominees. It's very impactful. It's short, obviously. It is in and out, and it makes its point. It is using a singular story to make a greater point about a topical subject, which is something that this category likes specifically. And again, topical. This is very topical. Definitely the most topical of the 5 nominees by far, especially for American voters. So I would probably predict that. I would also be inclined to say The Man Who Cannot Remain Silent has a chance here for similar reasons. It's about standing up in the face of standing up for what's right in the face of adversity. I will say it is a little bit it doesn't really give you any context for what's happening. So I had to go to Wikipedia afterwards to get the sense of what exactly happened, which is fine. It doesn't mean it's not a compelling story. But I imagine a lot of viewers, especially non-Croatian, Bosnian viewers, will have the same experience, and that may alienate some people. So I'm predicting Alien, but it's a shaky prediction.
Yeah, when I was younger, Cody, I often just went with the most memorable title, and I would say like 70% of the time that worked. I'm like, that Alien title is very weird.
Yes.
And I wonder if that can win because of that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why it's... Having seen the movie, I'm not really sure why it's called that or why it's written out that way. I didn't really get that from the movie, but it does grab your attention, and it's worth watching.
Voters might think they're voting for Alien Romulus.
Sure.
They're like, oh, that was okay. I don't know if it deserves to win an Oscar. Like, if I was like 17-year-old Brian just going down my ballot, the title that pops out at me here is The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent.
Yes.
It just seems like that sounds like an Oscar-winning short film.
It does. It does, doesn't it? Which is why it's my second place. It kind of feels like an important story. It is an important story, and it feels like it's being told in a way that has the weightiness, a lot of times, of the historical dramas that the Academy likes outside of this category even. So it's definitely a contender. And again, this is the hardest category to predict here. Could be any of the 5, but those are my 2 most likely.
Okay, so the fact that you have that in second, I'm going to go with that one based on the title. Right. That's how like, just,
Not a bad strategy.
But you're going to stick with Alien?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alien.
I think we just say Alien.
You can't say Alien. That's a Ridley Scott film, Cody.
No.
Okay, so if Alien wins, then I will just, for the rest of time, Cody, I'll just go with what you're thinking.
Like I said, I usually do pretty good in these categories, and these are the ways to win your Oscar pool, to win your competitions, your contests, your bets, is to focus on the shorts, because most people are just going to go, I don't know, and mark whatever, and they might get it right by just probability. People don't have a really widespread idea of what's going on in these categories, so if you pay attention to what the shorts are doing and the patterns that the Academy has established in their voting in the past, you can do pretty well here, and that ultimately might help you win overall.
All right, so if it does turn out to be Alien, again, I will just go with you with the shorts for the rest of time, and that's my promise right now. But in live-action short film, Cody's final prediction to win the Oscar is Alien. I'm going with The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent. All right, now we move into the 3 features categories, Cody, starting with International Feature Film. The nominees are I'm Still Here, The Girl with the Needle, Emilia Perez, The Seed of the Sacred Fig, and Flow. Now, the features, I've seen almost everything, except for 2 documentary features. I've seen, like, pretty much all of these. I saw all of these films in international features, so I have some things to say.
Okay.
In this video.
He's got opinions this time.
I have opinions. The viewers are like, Brian's just going to sit this one out and let Cody talk.
Cody's going to do all the work.
All 5 of these films. I mean, there's some really good stuff here. I thought The Girl with the Needle was harrowing and beautifully shot.
Yeah.
The Seed of the Sacred Fig. I mean, especially that third act. It really just, boy, gets
That's
your
my
heart
favorite.
racing.
Yeah.
Flow, I finally watched after seeing that movie for months, like winning over The Wild Robot. I was like, what is this movie? So I finally got to see it about 5 nights ago, and it's lovely. It's beautiful. But I mean, international feature film, Cody. That comes down to I'm Still Here and Emilia Perez.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see what would happen at BAFTA because I'm Still Here was in their foreign language category. Even though that at BAFTA, it wasn't anywhere else. It wasn't an actress. It wasn't in, best film or anything. So, so it kind of made sense that Emilia Perez was going to win at BAFTA. That wasn't a surprise. At the Oscars, I'm Still Here is an actress, is in Best Picture. So what are we feeling right now, Cody? Because of those 13 nominations for Emilia Perez, is it likely winning international feature at the Oscars?
Usually, with this category, in the past, better part of a decade, there's been one Best Picture nominee in this category, and you just go with that. And that does not lead you astray. Roma,
Right.
Parasite, Drive My Car. Another round
Easy
had a
peasy.
Best Director nomination. So, in the past, you just go with the Best Picture nominee. Easy peasy. Usually this category has been really easy in the past few years.
Right.
This year, there are 2 Best Picture nominees here.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes it tough because what that means is that voters from the wider academy who can vote in this category have seen 2 nominees. In the past, you have to imagine a lot of voters saw just the one that was nominated for Best Picture, voted for it, called it a day.
Right.
This year, they will almost certainly have seen 2 of the nominees, I'm Still Here and Emilia Perez.
Mhm.
And when I saw I'm Still Here on nomination morning get that Best Picture nomination to go along with the Actress and International Feature nominations we knew would be happening, I said that's winning Best International Feature. And this is before the Carla Sofia Gascon controversy. Because I just had this feeling that Emilia Perez would continue to build backlash, and there's nowhere up for it to go from 13 nominations. It's only fallen.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think that's impacted every single voter? No. I think a lot of Oscar voters are not susceptible to smear campaigns, to especially online-based smear campaigns. But some of the controversy has gotten so big with that movie that it's trickled over into the trades, your varieties, your, Entertainment Weeklies, and not just like one article. It's been a consistent story. So kind of makes me think that Emilia Perez is going to be hurt in a lot of categories, not just picture, actress, or director, which I think it is completely dead for those categories.
Right.
And I'm Still Here has passion, and that is what wins you Academy Awards. I'm Still Here's passion got it into Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's in Best Picture. So I think when you're looking at 2 Best Picture nominees, one of which has, yes, 10 more nominations than the other, I understand. But a lot of those nominations at this point are essentially moot because they're just not a contender in anything besides song and supporting actress, which is probably going to win. Versus I'm Still Here, which has nothing but love from its fan base and more people checking it out and more people being impacted by that story.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, Emilia Perez has won basically every international feature award it's been up for so far. Critics' Choice voting happened before the tweet controversy. BAFTA, I'm not quite sure of the voting window there, but I kind of imagine that European voters would not be as affected by the controversy. They usually aren't by this type of thing. But a more American-based academy, based in Hollywood, where a lot of this controversy is being, stirred up, I think could be affected by it. So, yes, it is a shaky prediction, but I'm going to stick with my instinct that I'm Still Here is going to win.
Yeah, I have gone back and forth on this, Cody, because I agree with you in some sense. Like, there is that passion for I'm Still Here. If it didn't get into picture, I just don't think it could happen. But because of that picture nomination, that means more people are watching it. Everybody who watches I'm Still Here is really taken with it. I mean, that was one of my favorite experiences at the Toronto Film Festival, was discovering that movie, knowing nothing, and just being totally swept up in that narrative and that main performance. And, you know, I feel like there might be some sense like we want to give this movie something, because Fernanda Torres, I mean, that is an uphill climb for her to win Best Actress. That's going to be tough. I still think there's like a tiny possibility. We'll see what happens at SAG. But, like, that's a really tough go. It's not winning Best Picture. Like, that just would be shocking. That would be crazy. And so, yeah, it's the 13 nominations for Emilia Perez where I'm like, man, that would be wild if it lost International Feature, especially having won that category pretty much everywhere, including BAFTA. So it's tricky. You know, I'm kind of like right, 49-51. But with you, I am kind of leaning toward I'm Still Here. I think the passion vote might like just put it over the top.
And to be clear, I do think Emilia Perez on paper is still a more likely odds-on favorite. Still, even with all the controversy, I think it is a bit bulletproof to some voters. And again, 13 nominations. Clearly, the broad Academy loves this movie. There's just no arguing with that, no matter what you think of the film. That is inarguable. So, anybody predicting Emilia Perez makes total sense. And there is total logic behind it. And if it wins, I will not be surprised at all. But I have a gut feeling about I'm Still Here. Again, it has that passion. And I don't feel that passion as strongly for Emilia Perez, especially post-nominations, when it's just been nothing but backlash. And again, that might just be mostly online. Very possible. Very possible it has not, penetrated the Academy's bubble. But it is so loud, and we've seen that type of backlash affect contenders before. It affected Power of the Dog, it affected La La Land, so this happens. And I think this is the category where that backlash might be most pronounced, where a win is essentially taken away from Emilia Perez by a movie that is nothing but loved.
Yeah, so going into the Oscars, Emilia Perez has 13 nominations. A lot of people are thinking, okay, it can win Supporting Actress, Song, International Feature. And in some respects, I feel like, okay, it's not going to go home empty-handed. It's probably winning Supporting Actress at this point.
There's no way it goes home with 0 Oscars.
And Song, just as we've talked about in that previous video, that makes sense. Like, that El Mal probably wins that. So it wins a couple. It's not 0 for 13. What if an international feature, we give it to the movie everybody really loves? I mean, my only thing is like at the end of the day, will more Academy voters see Emilia Perez because it has all of those nominations? And maybe there's just like not quite enough Academy members who actually take the time to watch I'm Still Here. And so Emilia Perez wins for that reason. Is that possible? I don't know.
It's absolutely possible because Emilia Perez has been a must-see since,
months.
October, basically. Yeah. Whereas I'm Still Here's surge has happened in the past 2 months. So it's had less time. Emilia Perez had more of a head start advantage. But I think since Fernanda Torres' Golden Globe win, quickly followed by a Best Picture nomination, people are just jumping at the chance to see I'm Still Here. Voters have to see it now because they go, well, I got to see this movie. If so many people loved it, it's winning awards. I haven't even seen it. So, yes, I think almost 100% of voters who vote in this category will have seen Emilia Perez. And less will have seen I'm Still Here. But I think more people who see I'm Still Here love that movie. Generally. And this is totally anecdotal. Again, Emilia Perez could just win this and we're overthinking it.
The BAFTA win for Emilia Perez in this category made me go, okay, maybe it's just not going to happen. But I'm Still Here didn't do well in its nominations at BAFTA. So.
No, I predicted Emilia Perez to win there. So, yes, it made my confidence go, ugh. But I have to just remember that that's been the path. The path for me has always been it doesn't win anything till Oscars, which is a very dangerous path for an Oscar predictor to take. But I'm going to stick with it.
Okay, let's do it. Our final prediction at the Oscars to win Best International Feature Film is I'm Still Here. All right, next up is Best Documentary Feature Film. The nominees are Black Box Diaries, No Other Lands, Porcelain War, Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat, and Sugarcane. I have seen 3 of these, Cody. No Other Lands was incredible. And I feel like the consensus among many is that deserves to win. But I don't think it's won anything yet. So what are we thinking?
That's the thing. It hasn't won any industry prizes, which is tough. It lost to. It wasn't even nominated at PGAs. It lost to Superman, the Christopher Reeve story at BAFTAs, which also won the PGA, but is not nominated for the Oscar.
Not here. Mm-hmm.
And then at the DGAs,
Porcelain War, right?
Porcelain War won, which is a nominee here, and No Other Land was not a nominee. So it's No Other Land has won by far the most critics' prizes. It's one of the most critically awarded films of the year in any category. But critics don't vote in the Oscars, and the industry has shown that when they get the chance to reward it, they don't want to for whatever reason. Again, PGA didn't nominate it, DGA didn't nominate it, BAFTA didn't give it the win. I would say Porcelain War is by default, having been the DGA winner. It also did well at Sundance last year. And it's about Ukraine, which last year the Best Documentary Feature winner was also about Ukraine with 20 Days in Mariupol.
Right.
It's a very topical subject. No Other Land also is obviously very topical. Unfortunately, I do think the topicality of it might affect some voters negatively. I can see some people wrongheadedly not even watching this movie because of the subject. It's a very hot topic issue, obviously, and it's going to raise a lot of passion in both directions. I do think it's probably still your winner, but I would not be surprised if No Other Land, yes.
Oh, okay.
But I would not be surprised if Porcelain War won instead, based on just general passion. And again, like I said with International Feature, passion is what wins you Oscars. But it's hard to argue with the fact that the industry keeps rejecting chances to award or even nominate it. And the fact that it got a nomination was an uphill battle in the first place. It still doesn't have distribution. They're self-distributing at this point.
Yeah.
You know, for the most part, everybody that sees this movie is kind of blown away by it. It's very impactful, and it's really hard to argue with the thing it's presenting. I wouldn't even call it an argument. It's just an objective fact, the miscarriage of justice happening here that's exhibited in this movie. But again, I think that could dissuade some voters from even watching it in the first place.
Yeah, I'm just like, but it's hard to be confident if it hasn't won anything big. It's not winning a BAFTA, DGA, PGA. It's like okay. So
but this race is really down to No Other Land versus Porcelain War.
Okay. So I mean that DGA win, I'm like maybe it's Porcelain War, but are you leaning toward No Other Land because there's passion?
I am, and I'm very nervous about it though. No Other Land has been the favorite all season, and the problem is, like we said, just keeps not winning things, which is hard. So at this point, kind of just leaning on the trajectory of the season based on what I've been feeling and what others are predicting. You know, I feel like I'm talking myself into predicting Porcelain War, which I don't love. But
was No Other Land nominated at BAFTA?
Yes.
And it lost to Superman.
Correct.
That does give me a little pause.
Yeah, it gives me a little pause.
Was Porcelain War there?
I don't believe so. I think No Other Land was the only Oscar nominee.
Porcelain War wasn't at BAFTA?
No.
I just feel like based on the stats there, and if they're kind of close, I feel like Porcelain War might be the smarter bets.
No Other Land and Black Box Diary were the only Oscar nominees at BAFTA.
Huh. Okay. I think I'm going to go with Porcelain War.
That's fair. I'm going to stick with No Other Land.
Okay.
That may change. I know we're saying final predictions. That may change.
Yeah, final.
I'm
going to make a very final video, everybody.
Yeah.
It's coming right before the show.
I'm just going to stick with No Other Land. I might see how the temperature changes in the next 2 weeks, but for now I'm going to stay with No Other Land.
All right. In documentary feature film, Cody's Oscar prediction is No Other Land. I am going with Porcelain War. And finally, for this video, the last category we are talking about is Best Animated Feature Film. The nominees are Flow, Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, and The Wild Robots. So, since I saw The Wild Robot at the Toronto Film Festival, Cody, I'm like, that is our Oscar winner for Best Animated Feature. 100%. That's winning, right? And then Flow started winning a bunch of stuff early on, and I went, what is this movie? Finally watched it a few nights ago. It's so lovely. It's very well done. I really enjoyed it. But I still think it's the Wild Robot.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, Flo was putting up a fight for a little bit. Won the Golden Globe, but Wild Robot keeps winning in more important races. It won at PGA, which has Academy crossover. It won literally every single category it was nominated in at the Annies, so it swept. Wow. The only award it lost was voice acting because it lost to itself. Oh. So it's done really well with industry prizes. It did not win at BAFTAs. Wallace and Gromit won both children's and family film and animated feature. You have to imagine part of that is a very strong British bias towards Wallace and Gromit, understandably. Yep. If Flo had won either of those categories, I would say that's bad news for the Wild Robot. But the fact that neither the Wild Robot nor Flo won, and it went instead to a film that I would call no better than in third place, probably for the Oscar, I think helps the Wild Robot because the industry has chosen that movie as its favorites, whereas critics and the Golden Globes went with Flo, and they don't vote on the Oscars. So I'm going with the Wild Robot.
Yeah, and what also, made me feel better about Wild Robot at the Oscars was it getting into two other categories, right? It's in score and it's in sound. And I know Flo is also an international feature, but I don't think that's like the same thing. I mean, what was that movie that got into like all three? Flea
got into all three, yeah.
All Flea three got into all three. Flea did not win anything, right?
No. Didn't win any of those three. It was not even really a contender to actually win any of those three.
So I don't think Flo also being an international means much. I don't think that's like, oh, well, that's probably winning one of the two. It didn't happen for Flea. So, and I just think, especially with just like the embracing of that movie from audiences, from critics, The Wild Robot. I just think that's the one that's really been embraced big time since it opened in September. But I just think it's the Wild Robot. I felt that since September. I was shocked when it wasn't winning at some of these places. I was like, what? It winning at PGA was huge, and I think Flo not winning at BAFTA, I went, okay, I think it's going to be the Wild Robot, right?
That's the thing. It's not only did Wild Robot not win, Flo didn't win either. If Flo had won at BAFTA, I probably would go with it because that is the exact same wins that we had last year for Boy and the Heron versus Spider-Verse, and Boy and the Heron ended up winning with those wins. Which doesn't, it's not the same every year. Yeah. But
I remember, Cody. You were so conflicted. You were like, I really want to predict Boy and the Heron. That's my favorite, but I think it's going to be Spider-Man.
I was so happy to get that category wrong. Thank God.
I said, Cody, just go with Boy and the Heron.
I couldn't.
And you couldn't do it.
Well, what I told myself was if Spider-Verse wins, I'll be unhappy because I didn't want it to win, but at least I'll be happy because I got my prediction right. And the opposite happened, where I got my prediction wrong. Oh no. But yay, the much better film won.
Yeah, I'm more about getting the prediction right.
I get it. I think we had this exact conversation last year. This year, I'm not worried about this category, though. I feel much more confident in my pick.
Yeah, I think outside of a shocker at the Oscars, it's going to be one of my 10 favorite films of 2024. I'm so excited. The Wild Robot. So our final prediction to win Best Animated Feature Film at the Oscars is The Wild Robot. Cody, this was so much fun. We'll have you back soon. We're going to talk the top categories coming up here. It's very exciting. If you can tell our viewers where they can find you online, now would be the time.
You can find my writing and podcasting at Next Best Picture and Awards Watch. I'm on every social media site at CodyMonster91, and check out my horror movie podcast, Halloweeners.
All right, we will be back very soon, and I will see you next time at the Awards Contender.